Thank you, Lars. It's a privilege to share this day with you and all of our incredible partners. As many of you are aware, there are grieving families in our community right now, and our thoughts and prayers are with all those who've been affected by the tragedy at one of our community's daycares. And I think it's appropriate that we now pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. As we gather at this SunRail stop, now doesn't that sound good, SunRail stop? I'm reminded of a classic American children's book, The Little Engine That Could. It's the story of a tiny locomotive that must pull a massive train over a steep mountain. It's a seemingly impossible job, and against great odds, that little train refuses to give up. Through sheer determination, the train achieves the impossible. In 1999, Central Florida lost out on its first chance for rail transit, watching our federal funding go to other cities. After such a crushing loss, many thought that rail transit in Orlando was an impossible goal. And a few years later, our community had an important conversation about what type of city we wanted to be. We agreed that to be a dynamic 21st century city, we needed a modern public transit system. The question was, could we do what seemed impossible and resurrect our dream for rail? In one voice, our community said, we know we can. We got behind a new project called SunRail, a commuter rail line that would boost our economy and give us desperately needed transit options. But just as we were about to move forward, SunRail's enabling legislation failed in Tallahassee. Some people wanted to walk away, but our business community, our residents, our civic partners wouldn't let that happen. So the next year, we brought SunRail back to the legislature, and again, it failed. Still, we refused to quit. We believed that SunRail was simply too important to our economic prosperity, too important to our transportation future, and too important to our vision for Orlando as a place where our children want to raise their families and have careers of tomorrow. Again, our community rallied together in historic fashion, declaring, we know we can. And today, SunRail is a reality. When SunRail begins operating in a few days, it won't be the end of the story. Rather, it's the beginning of a whole new era in transit for Central Florida. Already, we're creating jobs and spurring development and laying the foundation for enhanced public transit across the region. Florida Hospital re-engineered its entire campus to build on SunRail. And around the city's SunRail stations, there's $1.3 billion in planned development. And later today, SunRail riders will have another way to seamlessly connect with destinations throughout our downtown when Lynx launches its new Grapefruit Lymmo line. And looking at our city commissioners, looking at the members of the Commuter Rail Commission, looking at all of our government partners from across Central Florida, the state and the federal government, along with representatives from the civic and business community, I'm reminded of a time when each of us could have thrown in the towel. Instead, we took it upon ourselves to convince others that SunRail was worth fighting for. And because of that vision and that determination, the conversation about SunRail has totally changed. We're no longer talking about whether or not we need SunRail, but rather, what can we do to enhance the system and increase service and create more transit options? Already we've got car share, electric vehicle infrastructure, and bike sharing is on the way. We're working to complete the next phase of SunRail. We're also connecting All Aboard Florida, which is an intercity rail system, to the Orlando International Airport. This will allow residents to easily connect with South Florida through the airport and SunRail. And together with a new South Terminal at OIA, this is creating the first true multimodal system in Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in saying thank you to all of those who fought to make SunRail a reality. Now, as we gather at this station, which will soon hum with activity, it's clear that SunRail is our very own little engine that could. But it also occurs to me that the story of SunRail means so much more. SunRail's story is in many ways the story of Orlando. The extraordinary perseverance and partnership that made SunRail possible is the very same special formula that has powered so many of the major accomplishments that have helped to transform Orlando. It's the formula that allowed us to build world-class venues, to turn a cow pasture into a medical city, and to revitalize downtown. So much of what we've achieved and so much of what that future holds for us is because of this formula and our ability to declare, often in the face of skepticism, we know we can. So today, with those words in mind, we're going to report on the state of our city, and we're going to celebrate the determination and the partnership that fuels our city and continues to make Orlando a city on the rise. Now, we recognize that our world-renowned tourism industry is the foundation of our economy. But I bet you didn't know that we just passed the 59 million visitor mark, or that 1 in 3 jobs in this community are tied to tourism. This is a credit to our tourism partners, Walt Disney World, SeaWorld, and the city's largest employer, Universal Orlando, who is investing hundreds of millions of dollars into our city. Those tourism partners realize that to grow our economy, we have to build on tourism. So, more than a decade ago, our community rallied around the idea of creating a medical school for UCF at Lake Nona. We believe that the school could serve as the first building block of a medical and life sciences campus that would diversify our economy beyond the foundation of tourism. And if you remember, some people laughed at the idea. They didn't think this community could handle a project of this magnitude. We said, we know we can. And today, the medical city is creating careers and prosperity for our residents. And the unique environment for collaboration and innovation that we've created has set the stage for discoveries that may just change the world. Medical City is being called the fastest growing cluster for innovation in North America. And some of the largest and most influential companies on the planet, like Cisco and Johnson & Johnson, are investing in the Medical City because they believe this is a collaborative hotbed. And as we continue to build a more robust economy, we're using that same formula that made Medical City possible to grow Orlando's small businesses. Our main streets, Ivanhoe Village, College Park, Audubon Park, Church Street, Downtown South, Mills 50, Cimarron, and Thornton Park, are garnering national attention from USA Today and from Forbes. They're recognizing the unique mix of restaurants and shops and nightlife that these districts offer to both residents and visitors. Over the last 5 years, Orlando's Main Street districts have generated more than 3,000 jobs and $500 million of economic impact. Just as important as enhancing commerce, they've helped create a stronger sense of place. No longer just lines on a map. These Main Street districts are diverse communities within our community. Orlando was recently named one of America's most promising tech hubs. And that's why we're expanding our Orlando Main Street program by adding the first district that can't be found on a map, a digital Main Street, the Orlando Tech Association. And our goal is to foster a community that is attractive to tech companies and allows entrepreneurs to put their mark on this community. And that's why the private sector and entrepreneurs are investing their own dollars to make it easier for other startups to do business in Orlando. A great example is the once empty Church Street Exchange, where Canvas, a collaborative working space that offers aspiring startups business mentorship, will soon open. This will rival similar programs in Boston, and New York, and Chicago, and San Francisco. And as a government and as a community, we owe it to these entrepreneurs to nurture their passion for our city and their vision for our future. After a decade of work, our downtown is our region's most powerful economic engine and social hub. Construction cranes have returned to downtown. There are 26 projects underway or on the horizon that represent $2.5 billion worth of investment in our downtown. And they'll add 2,000 residential units, 400 hotel rooms, and a conference center. And this year, we'll install smart meters that allow debit and credit cards, as well as the use of mobile apps that direct drivers to open parking spaces. And of course, we can't talk about downtown without talking about our venues. There was a time when people questioned what type of impact would the Amway Center bring outside of Magic games. I think those criticisms might have been hard to hear over the roar of the crowds and the ring of the cash registers a few weeks back as we hosted those NCAA tournament games. Think about it. That was a single venue during one electric national event weekend. Imagine what a whole sports and entertainment district will do. That future is literally under construction a few blocks away at the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts. West into Paramore, we can see a new Citrus Bowl rising. And blocks from here, the site of a new stadium that is Orlando's second major league sports team, the Orlando City Lions' new home. And just across the street, we can envision the new Magic Entertainment Complex. With these venues set to open, we're going to be able to host more games and events that will uplift our economy. We'll start feeling that excitement again later this month as the Solar Bears make a playoff run. And next week, there's all that Solar Bear purple. Next week, we'll be announcing 2 new major events that are headed to our venues. And the success that we're creating in our downtown, it isn't just a destination, it's a direction. So, just like we did when I first took office, we're tapping into the power of a diverse group of residents and business leaders to make sure that downtown Orlando offers something for everyone. Work is already underway in our historically African-American neighborhood, Paramore. Through a comprehensive neighborhood plan, we're working with Paramore residents to ensure that a better downtown means a better future for them. And these recommendations will be incorporated into Project DTO. This diverse group of more than 100 people will give everyone the opportunity to leave their fingerprints on the future of our downtown. Their first recommendation was to use hashtag #OhYes and these cards for people to tell us what they like about downtown. And I'm sure that all of you have already said "oh yes" to standing during the whole course of this speech. So what I want to do is say "oh yes" to all of you who came out for this speech. I sure hope that turns out. A decade ago, we said that to foster the 21st century economy that we want, Orlando must be a place where quality of life is second to none. And we asked, could we have a diverse array of amenities to enhance the lives of our residents? And our city said, we know we can. In the last 11 years, we've built 20 new parks and renovated 22 more. In the year ahead, we'll open 3 more parks, including a bike park and our first dog park. We're adding 22 miles of new sidewalks this year, courtesy of a federal grant. We're better engaging residents with new technology, including a more user-friendly city website, enhanced social media channels, and the iLead program, an expanded neighborhood summit, and our popular Mayor City Academy. We continue to clean our streets more often and fill our potholes faster than any other major Florida city. 14 art galleries have opened since 2003, and just this year, we launched our biggest public art project ever, adding iconic sculptures all over downtown through our Sea Art Orlando program. In the Cimarron Boulevard corridor, we're working to enhance the aesthetics and improve traffic flow and grow businesses on one of our main gateways to our city. Now, quality of life also means embracing diversity and inclusiveness. And I am so proud of our multicultural community and that we attract people from across the country, from across the globe, who want to seek opportunity and call Orlando home. The fabric of our city is a mix of ethnicities, cultures, and religions. Diversity is our greatest strength. And a vibrant, welcoming community attracts the kind of industries and talent that our city needs. That's why we were one of the first cities in Florida to adopt a domestic partner registry, and now we have more than 1,200 couples registered. And I hope that one day we are the city that hosts the state's first same-sex wedding. Love and commitment should be encouraged, and it should be celebrated and it should be embraced as a constitutional right for all. More than anything, superior quality of life means protecting our most important assets, our people. With public safety as our top priority, we have more police officers and more firefighters per 1,000 residents than any major city in Florida. Juvenile crime is down thanks to youth engagement and programs like Orlando Cares and Paramore Kids Zone and After School All-Stars. And even though we've experienced a 10% drop in residential burglaries this year, when it comes to fighting crime, we can't rest on our accomplishments. And that's why, under the leadership of our new police chief, John Mina, OPD has built a task force to combat property crime. It's made up of officers who have shown an affinity for preventing and solving burglaries. But our residents are our greatest tool in preventing burglaries. And we already have more than 950 block captains, but we must continue to invest in Neighborhood Watch. And our commitment to safety has also made the Orlando Fire Department one of the top departments in the entire country. And this translates into real-world benefits, like the fact that you're more likely to survive a heart attack in Orlando than just about anywhere else because of our ability to respond to that type of emergency. And this protection is only getting stronger. Through a new grant, we'll be able to train 20,000 people a year in hands-only CPR as we work towards our goal of training every resident in hands-only CPR. Now, these accomplishments have been made possible through a unique brand of collaboration and determination. And despite these achievements, it's important to remember that many challenges remain. To overcome them, we must rely on the same formula that has served our community well. We want to talk about two challenges in particular. First is our city's budget. We've talked repeatedly about the decisions this government has made to preserve core services like police and fire protection while reducing the size of our government to endure the devastating one-two punch of the recession and state-imposed revenue caps. These basic budgets have been implemented and they've done what we've intended: shrink government and keep money in the pockets of our residents and businesses when they needed it most. In face of this unprecedented challenge, I'm proud of our city's strong financial management and some of the very best city services in Florida that our residents receive for their average tax bill of $40 a month. I'm proud that we made prudent financial decisions that have helped keep our reserve fund filled, paid our pension obligation rather than putting it off, and kept our bond ratings high. These are signs of financial stability that businesses look for when they're investing in a community. And the reality is that while our city budget is strong today, we have a long-term problem that we must address. Even as the economy recovers, state-imposed revenue caps will cripple our ability to keep up with the demands of public safety and other vital city services. This is a problem playing out across Florida and all other cities. And up until now, we've achieved remarkable efficiencies without reducing these services or without raising property taxes. But those days are coming to an end. And simply put, any further cuts to this budget would impact the services people need most and our citizens demand. And that's what's known as a structural imbalance caused by revenue caps and increasing expenses. To ensure that the financial stability of our city is strong, we must evaluate how to correct this imbalance. We could just kick the problem down the road, but I believe in my heart that's not the right answer. That's just not what we do here in Orlando. We don't shy away from tough decisions and big challenges. So I'm asking you to join me in finding the solutions to this challenge, beginning with a series of public workshops. This is going to involve some difficult but important conversations with our community, and we certainly don't have all the answers right now, but I know if we continue to work together with the input of our residents, we can rise to this challenge and continue to be responsible stewards of the public's money. The second challenge is homelessness. A decade ago, our entire region made a commitment to end homelessness. And we owe a debt of gratitude to our long-term partners in downtown, such as the Christian Service Center, the Salvation Army, the Orlando Union Rescue Mission, and the Coalition for the Homeless, who have fed and cared for our most vulnerable neighbors and provided for their daily needs. We've made great strides in breaking down barriers for the homeless by using nationally recognized models like iDignity, which provides critical identification documents for homeless individuals, and working to build a men's service center, which will open later this year. But we must accept that across the board, we have not had the kind of success that we envisioned. In the same way that we went back to the drawing board to rethink the strategy when we experienced setbacks with SunRail, it's now time to rethink and reorganize the way we approach this challenge. While we remain committed to a regional approach, we must realize that the challenges in each of our Central Florida cities is different. In the city of Orlando, the chronically homeless living on our streets remain our biggest challenge. These are often the homeless individuals that you see day after day, particularly in our downtown core. And sadly, among these men and women, they have served our country, and they need our help now. So working closely with a re-energized Central Florida Commission on Homelessness, we've studied what other cities have done to take homeless individuals off the streets and into permanent supportive housing. These approaches have one common focus. They recognize that many of the disabled and chronically homeless individuals will never get off the streets without community intervention and without a path to permanent housing with supportive services. So our city impact team, which we have just created in partnership with service providers, the business community, faith leaders, not-for-profits, the Orlando Housing Authority, and the Veterans Administration, are looking at how to replicate successful initiatives here. And the question before us is, can we place fully 1/3 of the chronically homeless individuals into safe housing in the next 3 years? This is an ambitious goal, but if we rely on our model of collaboration, I know that we can achieve it together. We want to close today by recognizing the partners who have made SunRail and so many of the accomplishments that we've talked about today possible. Because of you, we are on the verge of the most exciting year in Orlando's history. And I would love to individually recognize everyone who played a part, big or small. But if we did that, we'd be here so long that we could watch the work begin on the east-west rail line that will go to the airport. So instead, let me say thank you to our Orlando City Commissioners, our business community, our civic and faith-based organizations, our not-for-profit and arts community, our universities and educational institutions, Mayor Jacobs and our partners at Orange County, our regional partners in Osceola and Seminole counties who also helped us bring Major League Soccer here. Our hard-working city employees. And the residents who inspire us every single day. And I don't want to forget my wife Karen and my 2 sons for their love and support. From the first day our residents entrusted me with the job of being mayor, we focused on the future and building a better city for our children to call home. In my inaugural address, I said, I hope the history books reflect that our administration asked our citizens to imagine a great city, and we created just that. As we look around, we no longer have to imagine. That great city we envisioned is right here and positioned to get better every day. And the state of that great city is strong and ready to take on any challenge. Thank you. God bless America, and God bless the city of Orlando.